Having been appointed to the position of county board member in the state of Illinois and the county of Champaign aforesaid, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the position of county board member to the best of my ability. All right, congratulations.
Thank you. Date and time of the next regular meetings, they're listed on the agenda. We're now to the public participation point. I've got a number of notes from members of the public that wish to address the board. Is there anyone else out there that wishes to address the board? All right. First up is Mr. Ron Hersey. Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Hersey. Next is Luke Sadoff.
I want to thank everybody here this evening. My name is Luke Sadoff. I'm at 513 South Market Street in Bonneville. And I come this evening to talk about the solar array that is proposed. I do know it's been postponed till next month, and it sounds like that could potentially be some good news where both parties would get together and maybe come to some terms on that. I just want to give you a little background. I was on the Planning Commission in Bonneville in early 2000 when we ended up and decided to put together a comprehensive plan for the village in anticipation for our sanitary sewer project. The area where this array is going to take in or take up quite a bit of the acres of our most developable ground. I know that last month this board had an ordinance in front of it. My understanding, that ordinance would have given some power back to local municipalities to kind of safeguard them for areas like that. I'm not 100% sure. That is just what I've heard, that ordinance is what was designed. I understand it didn't pass also. I guess what I would ask, if that was the intention of the ordinance, I still believe that there was a great majority of the members on this board that wanted to see that power go to municipalities. This is adjacent to the village. This isn't a mile outside. If you are on one side of Illinois Route 10, this is going to happen on the other side. Bonneville is currently incorporated on the south side. This is going to be on the north side. If you were in favor of that ordinance last month, continue to encourage the developer and the village to talk, but I ask for you to stand by this municipality. We are not a municipality that is against solar and wind or anything else. We got to protect our infrastructure. This is where our sanitary sewer lines are, easily accessible if there's development. We have water there, we have gas there, we have new drainage tiles there. We don't have that. If you go west of the village, it could be open for this type of opportunity. If you went south of the village, we do not have all of that. If you go north of the village, we don't have that. We're hit by Interstate 72. I just asked this board, and I'm encouraged, it sounds like, that the words from both parties here have said, hey, try to work together. I hope that's the message that was kind of delivered to the developer, also to the village. I encourage that. I know that Bonneville thought they had an agreement. I'm not on the board anymore. I spent 12 years on it. I got it off about 6 years or so ago. But I truly believe if there's common ground, they can have it. But if this board truly thought that the ordinance a month ago was going to help safeguard villages or municipalities on areas like this, that is why you got to continue to tell these two parties, the developer, you got to work with the village, and we're going to support the village. The village needs your support for this. This is a for-profit business that is using solar to offset their costs of energy. This energy is not going to go on to help out Bonneville's costs, this county's electrical. It's not going to help out the state. It's not a solar array for the benefit of the of anybody except for this one business. So I don't want us to end up and down the road to continue to say, well, we really don't want this business, but they're going to put a solar field in there, so now we've got to take them. I don't believe that's the intention of the law. So I'll hold there. I strongly encourage both parties, and I'm very happy to see that this has been pushed back, and I'll hopefully next month when they come in, they've got some reasoning, or if not, I hope that this board will continue to stand with municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Mr. John Garth.
Good evening, everyone. I had a prepared speech for you tonight, but I'm going to hold that off till next month. When we put the sewer field in, the sewer line in, we had to come to an agreement with the UC Sanitary District. We are literally boxed in a particular area that we can develop. We can't develop, like Luke said, we can't develop in other directions. Our main corridor for development is along Route 10. We asked you to, again, encourage the developer to work with us. They were working with us for a period of time, but then all of a sudden they stopped showing up to our meetings. And they even gave us a $20,000 check to cover our attorneys fees and engineering fees. And they also, we also adopted a solar ordinance just for this particular project. So again, I would encourage you all to encourage the developer to work with us so we can move forward. And I would encourage you to let us have our EJT, our jurisdictional body to deal what's with us. We live there. We want to control what goes in and on around us. Please let that happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm also the mayor of Bonneville. Thanks.
Next up is Mike Hegemeyer.
Good evening. I'm a local electrical contractor here. I've been working on these Donato solar projects. I just wanted to let everybody know that this isn't it's not one of the companies we're getting bombarded with, that everybody's getting bombarded with from California or Florida. This is a local operation. Right now I've got, 13 full-time employees working on these projects for Donato. I cannot speak to, some of the property issues and things that they're having. I know that we have easements and things. We've worked with other people on other projects. They're very mindful of easements and different things that we've had. I just wanted to let everybody know that, we're a local company. We're here out of Champaign. I've got people from White Heath, Gifford, St. Joe. We're a local company. These projects are providing thousands of hours of labor for each job. For us, it's an important thing. It's here. We live here. We work here. We hunt here. We spend our money here. I just wanted to let everybody know that what kind of company this is. This isn't somebody that's just running through and slapping stuff up everywhere. They care about stuff. We're going to maintain these properties and these projects. So I just wanted to put that out there and let everybody know kind of what this organization is and what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Jess Childress.
I decline at the moment.
Okay. Tony Grillo.
Hello, I am representing the developer on this project. My name's Tony Grillo. I live at 103 North Thomas in Thomasboro. I was born and raised in Thomasboro. I live in the house I grew up in. I live there with my wife and my 2 kids. I grew up, my dad is the mayor in Thomasboro. In 2012, I filled a vacant seat on the village board. I've been there since then. Therefore, I kind of have an understanding of how small governments work, how they operate. I kind of see both sides of the coin when I'm pursuing these projects for different places. When my partner and I started Donato Solar in 2019, one of my goals was to help provide economic benefits to rural Champaign County. I do everything I can to support my community, which in this case means this entire area. We saw an opportunity to draw in large amounts of money, federal and state, by building this business. Money that allows us to have over 80 people on staff, of which 70 live in Champaign County. Money that allows us to regularly hire all sorts of local contractors, and money that can be spent locally. To date, we have spent about $9 million on labor to people who live in Champaign County. Just in 2023, that number is about $5.4 million. My roots and ties to rural Champaign County has allowed me to tap into all the local resources I can and keep as much of the money local in this area. I keep my local employees and contractors working throughout the state on all of my projects because I know how important it is to support our local workforce. In addition to hiring local, we have requirements that 15% of our workforce must meet equity eligible standards and enrolled in DOL approved apprenticeship programs. This means giving jobs to people who have been in the foster care system, been incarcerated, or live in disadvantaged areas. The DOL apprenticeship program offers paid classroom and on-the-job training to untrained individuals who otherwise may not have the opportunity to further their education. I have always worked to solve problems to make all parties happy. This meant on this project trying to develop it with the Village of Bonneville so that they could annex it and be proud of this project. Unfortunately, due to timelines, that wasn't able to happen, which forced me to go the route of the county. The project has major economic benefits. The project is expected to be just under a $16 million project. We will spend approximately $4 million on labor, of which almost every person working lives in Champaign County. About $1.2 million will be spent on local contractors, including Mr. Hagemeyer. That includes electrical, site, and concrete work, trucking, and mechanical companies. There will be about $10 million spent on materials, all subject to sales tax, $3 million of that spent locally. This project will create 2 to 3 full-time jobs and retain another 2 to 3 jobs. The creation comes from the solar, electric, and site maintenance, while the job retention is allowing me to keep the jobs for the data center local rather than moving that to a different area. We're only proposing to use about 17 of the 77-acre parcel for solar. The land that we are proposing to use is not desirable for residential development, as it's in a floodplain, near other commercial and industrial uses, and positioned between Interstate 72 and Illinois Route 10, which see upwards of 18,000 vehicles per day of traffic. We position the array away from Route 10 so that we can leave the frontage area open for potential commercial developments to align with the village's wishes to see retail developed along that corridor. I noticed the Champaign County Board's strategic plan includes supporting local businesses, promoting effective economic development, supporting economic development for disadvantaged communities, and encouraging the development/use of sustainable energy with natural resource preservation. Approving this project checks a lot of those boxes in one swipe. I do everything I can to support the community that I'm a part of, whether that is through job growth, job creation, sponsoring baseball teams, having high school classes on our sites to learn, volunteering at schools. I try to make sure the mark that I leave is going to last a lot longer than these solar arrays. While I do all I can to support members of this community, I'm asking this board to give me the support I need by approving the agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, unless another member of the public wants to speak, this will conclude public comment. Going once, going twice, don't see any takers. So thank you, folks. Now with the amended agenda, I think we have our ARPA update from Kathy. I know she feels very strange coming up this early in the meeting to talk to us.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so we included the memo update with the project status and the financial status as well, as long as the timeline too. And currently, we're working on a quarterly report that's due to the Department of Treasury by the end of the month. So that's one of the highest priorities, is to compile all that data that's needed for that. And then internally, we've been having discussions about which projects, to touch base more with, to see if they need amendments to their contracts at all, or if they'll be able to get their projects done on time. And so we continue to work with all the different projects as well, and they're in various stages, and I'd be happy to try to answer specific questions.
Stephanie.
Sure. I want to say sorry, it was like Diane called on me, so I just started talking. I was like, she has no authority. Dan was like pointing at me. I was like, okay, sorry. That's really funny. But you were just like, I want to say I had an opportunity to meet with Kathy and some folks from admin and finance earlier this week, and we went through these line by line. And, there's still ones that I'd like to see moving a little bit more. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the two rural projects I know Kathy is contacting folks and admin is contacting folks, but sometimes it's good to get more than one call. Sangamon Valley Public Water District was humming along, and it's lately seems like we're not getting as many requests. So if anybody from that area wanted to call them and say, hey, listen, y'all, because they were like our poster child. They were like the water project that was moving the fastest. And then I think the other one, rural project, was Royal, right? So I'm not sure which district that is. If y'all, again, I have confidence that everything's going to happen, but just over the next couple of months, we're gonna meet again in 2 months and go over. And I would say by late spring, if there is money we need to pull back, we need to know. So we definitely, I think we should probably tag in that April meeting to maybe kind of dig more into some of these and have a real conversation about and obviously the biggest pot of money we have out there is for the broadband, and the grants have been submitted to the state, and and they have a rolling announcement. So, and Michelle's raising her hand.
Yeah, the task force is meeting
Right.
Monday, the they scheduled the opioid and the broadband in the same week. So they're both meeting the last week of January. But for broadband, the contractors and the project manager from Finley will all be here. So it will be a very informative meeting. So even if you're not necessarily on the task force, but you wanted a lot more information, that would be a really good meeting to attend or watch.
But just so you know, as finance chair, I've been spending a lot of time worrying about these, but there's a lot more progress on this chart than there was in November. And I want to say a huge thanks to Kathy and to admin services, because a lot of that was they've been calling people and been like, look, you asked for the money, best start spending it, because we're on a deadline. So I really, really appreciate that a great deal. And I think the work that you've done is reflective. Some projects that had just not moved at all have started moving. And some projects that haven't moved at all, they do seem like they have a plan, right? So.
Diane.
Yeah, thank you. Just real quick, I wanted to make sure that any of the unused rural water projects especially, I've had a few of the communities contact me and want to know if there's going to be anything left. So there is still a need in the rural area for some more money on those water projects.
I would say this, the message needs to be right now, please, please, please do not solicit requests, because right now we have no money. But if there are people that think that they could use more money, they should be sent to Michelle, their contact information. Because if we do end up having more money, we're going to have to turn this around real fast. You know what I mean? It's going to be right away. And, we were talking about in our meeting, another thing that we could always do is do another year of the cover crop, because the cover crop end, you know what I mean? So that's another thing that would be easy. But like, if there's things that we want to do, we'd have to spin it really fast, because everything has to be firmly allocated by the end of 2024. So I don't know how we thread that needle, because we don't want the message to go out like there's more money and get a bunch of proposals, because there's not, and there'll be a lot of disappointed people, because right now we've spent everything. The only reason we'd have more money is if we have money left over on one of these projects, right?
It's none of my, like, it's not my call, but I would also just encourage that it's much easier for us to give more money to someone we've already given money to than to give money to a brand new project. So when you're talking to people, maybe keep that in mind. Like, are you talking to someone where we've already given them money for water and a little bit more will really finish their project? Or is this like a whole new group that we haven't had any contact with? Because that would be a little bit more of a gamble, I think.
I should also say, any money we give to a governmental agency, this body actually has to vote on it, because it's the intergovernmental agreement. So just as we are building out timelines, we would need to have enough time for this body to actually vote on, for an example, amending an existing agreement or whatever. If it's a not-for-profit, we don't have to by ordinance, you know what I mean? We're not under, but so that's another thing to keep in mind as we're timing this out. The other thing I wanted to say is I think I mentioned this to Kathy, I think that maybe next up have the Farm Bureau come and talk a little bit about their cover crop thing, because they've been doing that a few years. But if there's other projects you'd like to hear from, let us know. And we'll try to do them on this meeting, because the cow seems like it's too full. But like, I do think maybe March, April, invite the Farm Bureau to come talk about their cover crop project. We wanted to do that this fall. I think we just got too busy with the budget. But if there's other projects on here you want to hear from, or categories, and I also just wanted to point out, I think this is really cool. We have 4 of the rural water projects are done. Like, we've spent all our money. We put $805,000 in, and they put $3.6 million in. So like, that money that it helped leverage almost, $4.5 million worth of, and that's cool. That's what this money was supposed to do. So it's really exciting.
More questions for Kathy?
I also, can I mention,
Sure, go ahead.
Sangamon Valley Public Water District did respond this week after we met. So they're in process of gathering info. Yeah.
Well, not seeing any other questions. Kathy, you get out of here really early tonight. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve consent? All right, JJ with the motion, and Mike with the second.
Point of order.
Yes, go ahead.
I believe with the amendment to the agenda, we also moved item 2, which is the request for ARPA funds with the treasurer's office.
Did we? All right. I stand corrected. CJ, come on up.
Good evening, folks. So I'm sure you guys have seen my memo, and I'm open to any questions you might have about what I've requested. The long and short is we have some accommodations that we have to make in the office, and I decided to group that with the request for the additional funding, and figured since ARPA wasn't actually taken away from the budget thing, which is what led to me being denied the other person that I requested, this would be a safer option. I had a conversation with the Director of Administration about this, and this seemed to be the best bet. So please, I'm open to your questions.
Questions? Go ahead, Stephanie.
What's the breakdown? Do you know what the breakdown is between personnel and the other stuff? Like, what's the?
More likely than not, whatever it'll be, the actual chairs and pieces and things, the furniture portion will probably only be about $5,000. The rest will go towards the extra money for staff, since, again, I don't have the additional person, so I have to give the other individuals more hours.
Anyone else? Mr. Farney.
And on the staff item, is this the summertime person that comes in and helps through the tax collection season that used to come out of the, I think, automation fund, maybe at one time paid for it.
So, no. So this will be, the intent is to have it used mostly for the summertime part-time staff, which is taken out of the automation fund. But as you all know, or maybe you don't know, that fund was depleted previously. So right now, I don't have that extra funding. So I'm basically completely tied to whatever budget you guys give me until it gets to the point where it's a little bit more shored up. Of course, we're working on ways to kind of build it up, but that's not going to take place in like 2 seconds, which means I need, unfortunately, more money.
Stephanie.
What's the ARPA pot that we're playing with right now?
We're mostly messing around in the interest funds at this point, which is about $700,000.
Do we have any ARPA money appropriated into personnel?
I do not believe so, but I would have to double check, but I do not think so.
So, because usually if it's internal, we could just thumbs up things. Do you see what I'm saying? Like if it's internal ARPA money, we don't actually have to vote. And like, but if we don't have ARPA money budgeted in a personnel line, we would actually have to take a formal vote. Because I think,
do we need to come back with an actual budget amendment for that?
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to get at. Usually we could just handle these in like discussion, but because this one is specifically for personnel, I don't think we could just thumbs it up because it's actually not budgeted that way, right? You could double check, but
No, I think that's right. I mean, it would be nice if we had a thumbs up before I do the budget amendment, you know, so we know that we're going to do that. And I haven't talked to the treasurer about this specifically, but she's also going to have the additional pressure of, with the move coming, we need to clean out documents and do certificates of destruction, and that hasn't necessarily been maintained really well in the treasurer's office in the last 1 to 2 treasurers before her. So there's a little bit of a backlog. So that's another reason for this. After JJ left, it just, you know, went to heck, and nobody ever threw another piece of paper out. So there's quite a bit of cleanup that needs to be done this summer before the office moves as well. So.
And just so you guys are aware, we've already gone through the breakdown of what actually needs to be destroyed. There are things going back to 2016 that should have been gone. So we're actually going into the archives. We have like closets full of things, whatever, and we've already worked that out. So that's, while not the cutest thing, and just so we're aware, if there's any issues within the tax cycle, I don't see us being able to move before our tax sale. Just putting that out there so you guys don't think that we're going to be moving in November or October. Thanks.
No, there's several departments that aren't going to be moving until after that, for sure. JJ.
So I was just wanting to throw this out here. Would it be appropriate for us to thumbs up the money for the equipment so that CJ can start ordering that and getting that moving along, and then for next month have a budget amendment for the personnel side of things?
Stephanie.
So, because Beth is super smart, she looked, we do have money allocated in staff. It is for 2 things. It's for Kathy, I think, and then we have somebody in the auditor's office. And George, do we still have that? I think we're giving you $12K a year for like extra reporting stuff for ARPA. I don't know if that's offsetting one of your existing staff or.
Says 20,000 projected for 24.
I think it was for a temp person, the expectation at this final year, there would be a lot more reporting as a lot of the
we have
contracts
20K.
were wrapping up.
Okay. Okay. So we do actually, I mean, what I was getting at is if we do want to do it, like, I'm not trying to take your 20K. What I was saying is we do have personnel. So if we knew we were going to do it and we were going to thumbs up it, we could get started on the personnel. Well, I guess it's not to the summer anyway. So yeah, never mind. But Beth did point out, we do actually have some money allocated for in personnel.
Can we leave it that I will confirm with Kathy our understanding of what that's going to be spent with? And if this is correct, we won't be back with the BUA. We will just use that 20K And if not, we might be back with a budget amendment for 20K or less, to whatever it is to make up the difference. Okay.
Diane?
But I still like Farney's idea of going ahead with the equipment, because that takes time to order, and that's already in the ARPA funds. So really, our only question is personnel. So if we can go forward with that equipment and get it going.
All right. Can we get a thumbs up on?
Thumbs up.
All right, you have your approval for your furniture.
And then in terms of the personnel, like, just to be clear, if the audit, like, I do think 2024 is going to be a heavier lift for the auditor's office. So if the auditor's office needs that money for that lift for ARPA, like, by all means, like, that's why we put it in the budget, right? So, like, I don't think we have to do either or. Like, I think we could do both and. But, you know, I'll let y'all work that out and then come back to us with a budget amendment if you need it.
Yeah, I think what might actually be safest, especially with our earlier conversation about turning money around, is maybe we won't make a personnel change at this time, but we will start spending the personnel money of ARPA and expect us to be back probably at some point this year for additional money in that fund, depending on whether the treasurer needed it or the auditor needed it, however that ended up working out. Is that a reasonable agreement? Okay, all right.
I'm seeing heads nodding, so I'm assuming that is the case. Anyone else with questions for CJ? All right. Thank you very much. You two get out of here way early. Thank you for catching that, Kyle. I appreciate it. Okay, now we are on to the consent agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda. I think before then I had Mr. Farney and Mr. Smith as the two. No discussions allowed, so will the clerk please call the roll?
Carter.
Yes.
Esri.
Yes.
Farney.
Yes.
Furtado. Greer.
Yes.
Hanauer Friedman.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Lokshin.
Yes.
Michaels.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Sexton. Smith.
Yes.
Storr.
Yes.
Yes.
Vanish Seernot.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Passes. Excellent. Moving on to communications. Do members of the board have any communications they'd like to share at this time? Mr. Patterson.
As many of you might be aware of, this week I was appointed City of Champaign Township Supervisor. With that happening next month, this will be my last board meeting. I will be resigning effective February 5th. I guess I just want to say, I've been here for 7 years, doesn't quite feel like it. I mean, within my caucus, I'm the second most senior, just right behind the rain. And, it's been an interesting 7 years. I have a lot of stuff that I'll be proud of for the rest of my life that we did. There's stuff that left me sleepless and in tears, but I've experienced a lot of growth through this experience, and it's something that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. Done stuff that I can be really proud of, and I look forward to seeing what you guys accomplish after my time here. I've met some amazing people, both sides of the aisle. In fact, I like all 5 of you. Well, Mike, I don't really know yet, but I've made some of the best friends that I'll probably ever have, and I regret nothing. Thank you.
Ms. Furtado.
Yeah, I just want to say I got into this largely because of Kyle and working with Kyle on some stuff with the nursing home before I even was on the board. I said this to you in caucus, but I want to say it publicly. It has been one of the great honors of my life serving on this board with you. You've taught me a lot about leadership and how to come to solutions on hard problems. I am proud of the stuff that we've accomplished together. I think we've made a real difference for our community we've invested in things. The work that we've done on this, it's been one of the great blessings of my life, and I'm going to miss you. And I am really encouraged about the role that you're going to have, because you were the right person in the right time for that role. But just thank you for your service, and thank you for your example.
Anyone else? Samantha?
No. Oh, there we go. I'm going to ditto everything Dr. Furtado said. One thing that I have definitely admired about Chair Patterson is his cool, calm collectiveness. You know, I like that, and I think that is what makes you such a great leader, too, because you have the calmness in the midst of the storm that people see. I know you will do great in your new position, and I just want to send many blessings your way. And thank you for, you know, being someone that I can converse with during my time here on Champaign County Board. So thank you, and congratulations.
Any other communications from board members? At this point, I will just mention we have an opportunity here since Auditor Danos is here. I had several board members that communicated with me with regards to some issue with some vandalism that he had mentioned to the press, and I thought this would be a good opportunity for members of the board that did have questions. I know there were several of them to be able to address that. So, George, would you mind just going to the mic to take a few questions?
I have a mic over
Okay,
here.
Great. All right, that's fine. You can go from there then.
All right.
John, you had some questions just with regard to, you know, what had happened where. I know I talked with George initially about what had occurred, but I think you guys likely have some questions on your own, so.
Yeah, well, my question, you know, of course, I read the article in the paper, and a couple of things that came to mind. First off is this vandalism that's happening here at Brookins? Was it happening during meetings? It just opened up a lot of questions to me. And I'm just going to be honest. It almost implied that board members did this, and I was one of the 5 that voted opposite of the way you wanted, and I don't like being lumped in for something like that. And so I'd really like to know, you know, did this happen here? When did it happen? And why didn't you come to board members first? I don't like seeing things played out in the press before you talk to the people that are being accused in the article.
Wow. Well, first of all, Happy New Year to everybody here, and welcome to Carolyn Greer. I do hope you had a Merry Christmas and were able to travel to visit extended family, something that I could not do. The vandalism occurred on my driveway. I did not go to the press. Perhaps there are other questions in a different vein.
Samantha?
Can you just share with us what exactly happened?
No, because I did report it to the police, so if it's an investigation, they don't want you to give clues or anything that could falsify somebody's testimony. But it prevented me from traveling. That's what I'll say. Thanks.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So both incidents that you alluded to in the press were documented by the police?
The first one was not, although I did make a phone call that could be documented. I did not make a formal report.
Well, I'm not seeing anyone else at this time. Thank you, George. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I think clear communication is really important, and I am a little bit surprised that it did apparently appear in the press. So I'm just wondering how, if you said if it didn't get reported to the press, how it ended up in the News Gazette. But that's neither here nor there. Maybe Jim Dye is a much better investigative reporter than I think that he actually is. All right, moving on, can I get a omnibus motion to approve the minutes of December 21st, 2023 regular meeting? Jen Locke and Beth finished there not. Much the motion in the second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, moving on to standing committees. Summary of action taken at the January 4th ELEC meeting is received and placed on file. We have postponed action on that item, which would have been 2024-1 till next month. And I believe that's all that we had for ELEC. Okay, summary of action taken January 9th, Committee of the Whole is received and placed on file. With the policy, personnel, and appointments, Chair would like to make committee's recommendation for item number 1.
Thank you, County Executive Summers. Move to approve adoption of resolution number 2024-7, establishing place of election for the 2024 primary election.
Okay, that's the motion. Sorry, Chris has made the motion. Samantha's made the second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. New business. Can I get a motion to approve the adoption of resolution number 2024-8 authorizing payment of claims? Jen Straub, and then the second by Ms. Furtado. It's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Yeah, use the mic, George. I didn't hear you. So any discussion? George, did you want to add in terms of information on the payment of claims?
Sure. And then I did sketch up some illustrations from my own work papers and workbooks. I'm wondering if I could display those from the front at the projector. The payment of claims was over 17 million. Whenever that occurs, I always look to see why they're great. It's because it's the end of the year. We did have semi-annual bond payments and interest payments that plumps that. One other interesting item was the amount for out-of-county jail stays. It was more than 200,000 in that month, and that made me do some homework because I wanted to see how that impacts our forecasts going forward. So if I may, I did bring my USB drive. Can we turn the projector on?
No, I mean, this is just for a point of general discussion, not really a presentation,
Okay.
George. So,
In what fashion should I do that next time?
I'd say,
The cow?
probably just I can put it as a portion of the cow at the next meeting, and you
Okay.
can give that presentation then.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, all right. So that's a little tidbit that might make you think about maybe the cliff that we referred to last time at Cow. It could also be a cliff in the expenses, which would be good news in terms of balancing the budget going forward. We will repatriate all these out-of-county inmates starting next year, and that means that $3.2 million will no longer have to be given to the Kankakee, Pike, and Macon County sheriffs. So that's good news. I do want to point that out, and I'll incorporate that in a more general testimony at the Committee of the Whole. Thank you.
Thank you, George. All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 2024-9, approving the agreement between the Champaign-Urbana Public Health District, the County of Champaign, and the Champaign County Health Department for the provision of public health services by the Champaign County Public Health District to the Champaign County Health Department? Can I have a motion? Motion by Michaels, second by Carter. Any discussion? Go ahead, JJ.
There we go. So this is me thinking back to years ago when I used to clerk these meetings, so forgive me. At one time, I see we negotiated an agreement with the Champaign-Urbana Public Health District. At one time, I remember a board member asking, are there any other entities that we ever try to negotiate with or ask for a request for proposal or something like that that could do these services? Is that something that we are able to look at, or is that something that we have in the past, or maybe the next time this contract comes up, maybe that's something we might consider?
That's nothing that I recall in my time on county board or within the last year. That's certainly something we could consider or look at. Absolutely. All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Excuse me. All right. Motion still carries, just by not quite the unanimous majority that we had before. All right. Let's see. With the changes in the agenda, I believe that takes us down to the memo that should be at your table from Polsinelli Law Firm that we've retained to deal with the issues that we've had with the former nursing home owner. Has everybody had a chance to familiarize themselves with that, or do you want to take a few minutes to take a closer look at it? I'm seeing no hands for additional time, so I'm... Okay. All right. Go ahead, Beth.
Do we need to go into closed session for this? Because this is marked as privileged and confidential?
Well, we're not really going to discuss the agenda at this point. I think we should have some general discussion of how the board wants to approach this moving forward in terms of making sure that the public is fully aware of the position that the county's in. Go ahead. Aaron.
Thank you. The way I look at it, and what we're being told, basically the owners of the nursing home as it stands now have had no offers to buy it as a nursing home. And the first that I've seen concerning a nursing home, the way since it's been shut down as a nursing home, to bring it back into compliance, it would have to be brought up to the code for as if it was built brand new. And that sounds like it's going to be a lot of money. So that's maybe in large part why no one's wanting to bring it back as a nursing home. I understand that, because the idea of bringing it up to new code, like when I did electrical, and I still do, but especially for my previous boss, when we do after a fire, okay, if you were gutting the whole home had to be brought up to new. If the fire only did like 1 or 2 rooms, everything that you did new had to be brought up to code. The old was grandfathered in, with maybe some exceptions like smoke detectors, but basic life safety stuff. But so that that makes sense to me. I'd never heard that before in regards to a nursing home that had been sitting vacant. So unfortunately, the way it sounds to me, I personally don't want to see it sitting there until January 1st, 2028, vacant. Granted, the power can be kept on at the minimum to keep stuff from, freezing and breaking. But stuff does almost basically break down with no use. It can be overused, but it can also break down from basically just sitting there. And keeping a building at minimum temperatures isn't necessarily good for it for long periods of time either. Unfortunately, it sounds like it's time to probably still do the best we can, but kind of accept the fact that it's probably not going to be a nursing home. That's the way I see it, that if we're going to have that building go to some use, instead of just sitting there vacant until 2028, and then we still wouldn't know then exactly what would happen, it's kind of time to say, well, we gave it our best shot, and there's no buyers, it doesn't appear, for a nursing home. And that's my take on it.
Would the board be amenable to scheduling a study session where we could invite the public? We still are lacking some information from the bank that has the lien on the nursing home, it would probably be prudent to avoid, making any decisions until we have that information. But I think it's really important that the general public has a clear and accurate understanding of the position that the county is likely going to be looking at. So I'm open to hearing from board members with regards to moving in that direction. Jenny?
I would support that. I also agree with what Mr. Esri said, that it's not going to benefit us at all sitting vacant, and it's becoming apparent that this is not going to serve the county as a nursing home at this time or anytime soon. That being said, there still is a dire lack of nursing home beds in Champaign County. It's only going to get worse. And I know that there was that group that spoke at our last session about this that I know Claudia Lenhoff and Champaign County Healthcare Consumers were involved in. I'd like to see them invited and involved in the process as well to see what we can do as a county to alleviate that lack if it's not this moving forward.
Well, it would make sense to have the study session actually after we have more full information with regard to the owner of the home at this time. So at this point, we'll have to wait until we get that information. And at that point, then I can talk with both caucus chairs and schedule a time when we will be able to have a study session to have general board discussion and invite the public. Stephanie?
I do think that it's really important that as we're talking to constituents and that in the media and whatnot, is that we're really clear that the state Department of Health will not license the building as a nursing home, right? And I think, Aaron, that you said that, but I think we need to make that very, very clear that it's not just that we don't have any buyers for it to be a nursing home. The state, as the building is, will not license it as a nursing home. So we are between, do we let it stay vacant? And then eventually the covenant list, and in 3 years it won't be a nursing home? Or do we do it now? But all we would be doing is postponing it and letting the building deteriorate for 3 years, because we can't make as much as we'd like to. And what Jenny was saying, we're going to be that means we're going to continue to be way underbedded, but we can't make the state let us have it as a nursing home, and they're not going to.
I would just say for the timeline of the process, I think it might be a little bit better if we commit to the February study session being the one that we use, because we're going to get to a point where the board's going to want to know, or I'm sorry, where the bank is going to want to know when they can get a final decision from you. So even if we do the study session at the end of February, we're talking about the March county board meeting before we can give the bank, here is the final ultimate board voted decision of which way we're going, which is still 2.5 months out. And I think by the time the bank negotiates with their buyer, they're going to want to get some signatures on paper pretty quickly at that point. So.
Well, that's assuming we will have full information from the bank with regard to their potential buyer at that point. But I would guess that timeline would probably fit best for our purposes. So a special board meeting in February. Go ahead, Jen.
I just wanted to echo, basically everyone here, I think, is on the same page. And this is one of the more heartbreaking things that has happened in my time on the board, because we did hear some pretty compelling public comment regarding this issue. And so I am glad that we're all on the same page as far as the study session goes, because I do think that the public and those who've really spent a lot of time and effort on this issue deserve the respect of being given the information that we have, and deserve the respect of being heard on this issue again.
Anyone else? If not, seeing no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, folks.